भी बहुत अच्छी हुई। आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से G20 को कवर किया। चंडीगढ़ को पूरे देश में, चंडीगढ़ को खैर देश में स्थापित करने की कोई वो नहीं है, एवरीवन नोज अबाउट इट, बट G20 के नज़रिए से चंडीगढ़ को पूरे एक राष्ट्रीय मैप में स्थापित करने में मुझे लगता है आप लोगों ने बहुत अहम भूमिका निभाई है। एंड नाउ वी आर इनटू द फाइनल फेज वेयर विल बी डिस्कसिंग द पोस्ट इवेंट discussions in terms of what all has happened in these 2 days. What kind of discussions have had, whatever we can tell without compromising on the I would say the internal parts, we'll try to do that. और जैसे कल हम लोगों ने किया था, सेम प्रोसेस वही फॉलो करेंगे कि पहले एक हमारे अनु मथाइस मैडम एक आपको स्टेटमेंट देंगे, ब्रीफ इनपुट्स देंगे, देन इट विल बी फॉलोड बाय क्वेश्चन आंसर सेगमेंट फ्रॉम योर साइड which both our officers will try to address. और अगर हमारे जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी साहब बाद में ज्वाइन कर पाए तो वो भी हमारे साथ ज्वाइन करेंगे. With these words, once again a very warm welcome to all of you, and now I give the floor back to Anu ma'am.
Thank you, Rajendra. Thank you to all of you for coming. The first meeting of the International Financial Architecture Working Group under the Indian G20 presidency was held on 30th and 31st January here in Chandigarh. This group is dedicated to discussing solutions to vulnerabilities in the international financial system, enhancing financing for development and strengthening the international financial architecture. Now you would all know that this meeting was inaugurated by Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Shri Narendra Singh Tomarji, and Honorable Minister of Food Processing Industries, Shri Pashupati Kumar Parasji. Now, when they were welcoming delegates to the beautiful city of Chandigarh, Honorable Ministers in their inaugural addresses reflected on the spirit of the Indian G20 presidency's theme of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. This group is co-chaired by France and South Korea. The Indian presidency was represented in the meeting by the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance, and the Reserve Bank of India. The meeting was conducted over 2 days, and the aim was to seek the views of G20 member countries and invitees on the agenda for this group under the Indian presidency. A panel discussion was also organized on the sidelines by the Reserve Bank of India on central bank digital currencies, opportunities and challenges. They had done an event earlier also on the 25th in Chandigarh, and for the people of Chandigarh, and this was for the G20 delegates. The objective of this side event was to share country experiences on CBDCs and to develop a deeper understanding on the implications of CBDCs. In this meeting over the last 2 days, there were nearly 100 delegates from G20 member countries, invitee countries, and international organizations. Their presence here of these delegates in this beautiful city of Chandigarh demonstrates the strong commitment of the global community to support India's G20 presidency. While there was work, they were also provided an opportunity to experience the vibrant culture and spirit of Chandigarh. A polo match was organized for the delegates on January 29th. Visits to some of Chandigarh's famous locations were also organized for the delegates, and they were also provided an opportunity to have a taste of this city's wonderful cuisine and art. Dance and musical performances rooted in the multicultural setting of Chandigarh showcased India's cultural diversity. Now, coming to the meeting itself, the subjects that were discussed over the last few days were how to strengthen multilateral development banks and how to address challenges associated with the G20 Common Framework for Debt Treatments, which is a previous achievement of the G20 for helping the very poor countries with their debt. This has become, continues to be an important agenda as the debt situation worsens. Now, the focus of this group in 2023 is to support global action for enhancing financing for development, while at the same time strengthening international financial institutions to support vulnerable countries to deal with challenges like pandemics and climate change that are not confined within national boundaries but go beyond boundaries. Now, what will happen next is, this was, as I mentioned to you in the pre-event press briefing, this is the first, there will be more meetings of this group, and after this, the next, the discussions of this meeting will inform the meeting of ministers and central bank governors, which will take place in Bengaluru on 24th and 25th February. So that is the next item on the G20 calendar, for the finance track of the G20 calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll let the floor open. I think, please start.
Which are the countries? As Madam, in the beginning, during the first press briefing, you had stated that this 2 days conclave, the focus will be on, and then the India presidency will be on comprehensive look at the global trend. So what are the fine points on which the members have agreed upon?
This, as I said, is the first of many meetings. So this, and the G20 is primarily a forum for discussing the issues that are, the key challenges and issues of the day. So now debt the debt problem has been a problem for some years now, and it is increasing. So it is too early to have an outcome at this meeting itself. So this issue will be discussed over the next few meetings, so that members can decide what is the best way to improve the way this debt situation has been handled. So in previous years, this group came out with this mechanism to deal with the debt burdens of very poor countries. So they came out with this debt service suspension initiative, so that the countries that have to service their debt, that is their debt service burden is lessened. So now, but there were some challenges with that, so that was not working very well. So there are many issues to be discussed: how to make this work better. What are the other ways that the debt distress faced by not only low-income countries but middle-income countries can also be addressed. So the solution will take some time; it will only come after some discussion. So the solution will not emerge out of the first meeting. So over the year they will discuss this.
And as we said in the first meeting also, that there is a process. So this working group meeting, etc., this is a kind of deliberations which are going to, be the input for finance minister and central bank deputies meeting, and then they deliberate upon it, and then finally the final element which is accepted by the G20 members in a consensus manner, that is at the level of leaders summit, where there is a final emergence of those things. So
can you specify the names of countries, those having a more debt burden, whose cases have been discussed here?
There are many countries all over the world, like many countries in Africa, Zambia, Chad, Ghana, on Central America, Latin America. So there are a number of very poor countries who are facing a tremendous debt burden. Suriname, now those are the countries, the very poor countries, but now middle-income countries are also increasing. Their debt distress is also increasing. You have the case of Sri Lanka, for example.
So many other countries are apprehensive of the digital currencies, basically. So what you have deliberated in these meetings about the digital currencies and future for the digital currencies?
So as I said, an event, one domestic event was held, and there was an event along with this, the meeting, because as you know, the Reserve Bank of India has brought out a CBDC on a pilot basis. So the idea was to explain that to people, and to share experiences, because there are few countries that have introduced this, but on this Reserve Bank will be in a better position to describe the way it works.
You say there was forward movement in narrowing of divergences on key issues like reform of MDBs, reform of multilateral institutions like the IMF or the quota system, and the global safety net. Was there forward movement on divergences between countries, or narrowing of divergences between the countries?
It will take some time. These were issues are all on the agenda. Now everybody recognizes the importance of these issues. That is one, the need to strengthen multilateral development banks to address the new challenges that arise. So while they are well equipped, or I should not say well equipped, but while so far their focus has been on development financing, these poor countries around the world are also now facing challenges that transcend boundaries. And so the resources of these MDBs need to be increased, they need to be strengthened to be able to address these challenges. So there is quite convergence on the issues that have to be, on the problems that there are. What has to be decided by consensus is how to address these issues. So certainly as far as narrowing of differences is concerned, all the issues that you mentioned, this work plan of this group has been agreed by consensus. Everyone has agreed that we have to discuss these issues. So we will get closer to resolving them as the months go by.
Excuse me, पुरुषार्था जी, जो कैलेंडर अभी तक G20 का जारी हुआ है, वही कैलेंडर फाइनल है अप्रैल तक का, या अभी मई में जो जम्मू कश्मीर है वो इंक्लूड होना है?
देखिए अभी तो जो कैलेंडर है वही फाइनल है, लेकिन बिकॉज ये ईयर लॉन्ग इवेंट है, अगर कोई इवेंचुअलिटी आई तो उस समय देखी जाएगी. अभी तो कैलेंडर जो G20 का है वो बना हुआ और सबके सामने.
तो जम्मू कश्मीर पे अभी कुछ फाइनल नहीं है इवेंट का हमारा?
अभी जो कैलेंडर है, लेकिन साल भर का प्रोग्राम कई इवेंचुअलिटी हो सकती है, अगर किसी को चेंज करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी तो पड़ेगी.
नहीं, मैं ये क्वेश्चन इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ क्योंकि पाकिस्तान ने ऑलरेडी जम्मू कश्मीर के इवेंट पे ऐतराज जताया है, तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि क्या G20 जम्मू कश्मीर में होगा या नहीं होगा?
देखिए ये जो चीजें हैं वो हमारे लेवल के डिस्कशन की चीज नहीं है, तो हम इसके लिए कॉम्पिटेंट अथॉरिटी नहीं है कि हम इस पर कुछ कह सकें.
थैंक यू.
Input came from the discussions for the next meeting. Can you elaborate on the input like my colleague first asked?
No. So in this meeting, the broad agenda was discussed, which I mentioned to you. I'm talking specifically about the meeting of this particular working group, the International Financial Architecture Working Group. So the work plan for the whole year has been agreed by the group. And as I mentioned, these are the issues that are going to be discussed over the next few meetings in this group, which is strengthening MDBs, discussing implications of CBDCs, addressing debt challenges, looking at capital flows, and so on. So that will continue to be the agenda for the next meeting.
Deliberations and discussions were held. Inputs came from the various members. So what kind of inputs were those on all these issues? This is the forum for countries to express their views on these various issues.
देखिए शायद समझाने के लिए हम आपको बता दें कि ये जो पहली मीटिंग होती है उसमें एजेंडा सेटिंग होती है. एजेंडा सेटिंग का मतलब है कि जो प्रेसिडेंसी ने एजेंडा बनाया है, जो एजेंडा में डिलिवरेबल आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं, जो एजेंडा के डिस्कशन टॉपिक आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं, इस तमाम मुद्दों पे मेंबर्स कंट्री जितने भी हैं पार्टिसिपेंट्स, वो इस पे अपने व्यू एक्सप्रेस करते हैं और फाइनल जो आउटकम होता है कि उस पे उनकी सहमति है या नहीं है. तो ये पहली मीटिंग हमेशा इस चीज को लेकर होती है. और जैसा कि हमारी कलीग बता रही हैं कि सारे मेंबर कंट्रीज ने इसको डिलिब्रेट करने के बजाय बाद में अपनी पूरी सहमति जताई है इस एजेंडा से, और अब इस एजेंडा पे पूरे साल भर काम होगा. और इसकी जो फाइनल, जिसको हम कह सकते हैं कि डिलिवरेबल है कि इस एजेंडा के आउटकम क्या निकल कर आए, वो पूरे साल भर काम होने के बाद G20 के जो आउटकम होंगे उस आउटकम का हिस्सा ये भी होगा. और इसी तरह के तमाम जितने भी वर्किंग ग्रुप हैं, सिर्फ यही वर्किंग ग्रुप नहीं है, जैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वर्किंग ग्रुप है या कोई भी वर्किंग ग्रुप है, तो उसकी पहली मीटिंग हमेशा एजेंडा सेटिंग के लिए होती है.
वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि किस टाइप के व्यूज थे मेंबर कंट्रीज के इस इन एजेंडा पे.
And I will just add to what my colleague is asking. If I may ask you, ma'am, would you please shed some light as to what were the views of China and European Union on the issues on the agenda which India has pushed in these 2 days.
No, we want to clarify one thing here. G20 meetings are closed door meetings. That is why media is not allowed inside the meeting. So these are country views. They are country sensitive. Their specificities are there. So what is agreed will obviously come out in front of you. But during the process of deliberation, I don't think presidency has the authority to share with you what countries think about these issues. I hope you all will abide by the international sensitivities.
What are the points India? What were the views of India? What were the views and what are the points India raised in this issue?
India, first and foremost point.
With regard to global.
Yes, first and foremost point which India raises and is at the core of India's G20 presidency is that we need more international and global cooperation to ensure economic stability so that everybody enjoys the fruits of a strong and sustainable growth. Now, what are the impediments to economic stability? That is a matter of analysis. We invited many international organizations. We had invited IMF, we had invited World Bank. In fact, we had invited 7 or 8 regional development banks. We had representatives like OECD speaking from their angle. People have spoken on various issues. Some people are affected by capital outflows. Some people are from the countries whose policies affect the capital outflow. So there is a wide variety of spectrum available around the table, but the whole idea is to have it all converge into some sort of a solution, some sort of an agreement where people and countries agree that okay, these are the things which we all agree and we can all act on this so that overall global financial stability is maintained. That is the core purpose of this group and this is how it operates.
Ma'am, you said discussions are also held related to climate change. Could you just throw some light upon what are the challenges that we faced in this group, and were there any deliberations held upon, going forward towards a sustainable and more climate-friendly economy?
Climate change as a subject is not a subject of this particular group. Therefore, there is actually another group which is on the Sherpa track, which is another track of the G20. What I said was that international financial institutions so far have been funding or providing financing for development issues, then sustainable development goals, poverty alleviation, and so on. But the problems of the 21st century are much bigger. They are not problems confined to a particular country, and that is why I mentioned climate change. So, for example, climate change can make it worse, can make development challenges worse, can push more people into poverty, and put challenges on infrastructure and so on. So, the context in which I mentioned climate change was that the international financial architecture has to be strengthened so that they can provide financing to meet these challenges also.
जैसे दूसरे ग्रुप्स में there are many other working groups in which these things are deliberated. For example, in infrastructure working group. Now the theme of this year's infrastructure working group is urban development. Now how urban infrastructure can be made more green? It can attract more green financing. It can get more funding to ensure that our urban, and not only cities of India but cities across the world are becoming more eco-friendly. They are becoming more less and less use of energy, more circular economy. All these things, these are deliberated. Various elements are deliberated in various working groups in which they belong to.
Ma'am, since there have been discussions on structuring the financial institutions all over the world, so did the countries also discuss terror funding or Hawara transactions, because it is going on all around the world and it is a part of financial structure as well?
Yes, these are very, very important issues. In fact, FAT, we have an international organization called FATF, so they continuously discuss, but they have their own annual program. Although at the when G20 finance track meetings are held at a fairly senior level, ministers level, FATF representative reports to the finance ministers that what have they achieved, and yes, money laundering, anti-money laundering, terror financing, they are on the agenda of FATF.
भारत के श्रीलंका और पाकिस्तान दोनों पड़ोसी हैं और उनकी हालत जो है बहुत खराब है। आर्थिक जो हालात है वो भारत कहीं ना कहीं चिंता की विषय है, क्योंकि उनकी स्टेबिलिटी भारत की ग्रोथ को कहीं ना कहीं असर डालता है। उस चीज पे डिस्कस हुआ है। और दूसरा ये कि जो मार्च एमसीसी का सेकंड पार्ट है या वो किसी और एजेंडा में?
Second question first. As sir has said, the agenda is set for the whole year. This you can imagine as the work plan for 1 year, which is discussed in every meeting. In every meeting there is some progress, and sometimes one part is picked up in one meeting, some other part might be picked up in another meeting, and generally organizations are tasked with work. They come back and report in next meeting that what has been the progress. So that is there. And to answer a question about Pakistan and Sri Lanka, it's the cases which impact the global economy, those are discussed. Individual cases, relations and implications for one particular country, this one-to-one kind of decision is for bilateral meetings, and this G20 is not for that.
So did the member countries discuss the economic slowdown that is looming over, and what were the views if it was discussed?
All these issues are discussed in G20, but not specifically this, not in this particular group. There is another group which also discusses the global economic conditions and so on, but not in this particular group.
But there has been reports that world is moving towards depression as well. So do we have any discussions on those parts?
Again, the same group, it's related to that. So we have another working group in which these issues will also come up, but that is not the subject of this working group.
इसकी जो next review meeting होगी वो इंडिया में होगी या
Next?
आज जो meeting हुई है
हाँ.
इसकी review meeting
हाँ.
भी होती है?
फाइनेंस ट्रैक की मीटिंग्स का एक पूरा कैलेंडर बना हुआ है, G20 की वेबसाइट पर है, और आपको हम ये बता सकते हैं कि इसके बाद सीरीज में अगली मीटिंग इस सब्जेक्ट की नहीं है, सस्टेनेबल फाइनेंस वर्किंग ग्रुप की है, जो शायद आज से 2 दिन बाद गुवाहाटी में है. उसके बाद फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर लेवल की मीटिंग है जो फरवरी 24 और 25 को बेंगलुरु में है. सो ये 1 मंथ का है. Similarly, for coming months also, the calendar is already published.
Just to answer your question, इसको review meeting नहीं कहते हैं, but there would be multiple meetings for a working group. तो जिस प्रेसिडेंसी, जिस भी कंट्री की प्रेसिडेंसी होती है, all meetings happens in that country. So इस साल के G20 प्रेसिडेंसी की मीटिंग सारी हमारे देश में.
Ma'am, you spoke of the crisis response in the first meeting. Could you please elaborate as in like what was discussed in the meeting about the crisis response? To strengthen the crisis response in the sense that in case if there's a pandemic, so how do we respond globally?
Yeah. So the pandemic in 2020, when the pandemic happened, then the agenda at that time, the presidency was held by Saudi Arabia. So what they had a certain agenda planned, but then when the pandemic struck, then the G20 had to think of ways to deal with the crisis. So one of the response to the crisis was to put in place this mechanism to waive off debt service payment, not waive off, to actually to delay debt service payments by the poorest countries. So the G20 also adjusts its agenda to deal with whatever the immediate crisis is. So that's what I meant when I said crisis response.
One of the reasons for taking these G20 meetings out of Delhi was one, of course, to give a taste of the diversity of India to the visiting delegates, but the Prime Minister had said that he wants to make it a Jan Bhagidari initiative or a people's movement. How have the residents of Chandigarh contributed in this particular working group's meeting? What has been the interface between those who have been here as participants and the residents of Chandigarh?
Let me request my colleague to answer this.
देखिए, Jan Bhagidari you have to understand in a larger context. So there are processes through which the challenges faced by countries coming up, which is through a channel through which these things are getting captured, and then through various layers these are coming up. So this is one thing of Jan Bhagidari. The other thing of Jan Bhagidari is to feel proud of this international leadership which India is getting, in the shape of a G20 presidency. So whenever we are visiting to any city, we have seen a tremendous, sense of pride and joy in the city people. For example, in Bangalore, we have seen it. In many other cities we have seen. In Chandigarh in last 2 days we have seen this the kind of sense of pride that look, the international kind of thing is happening in our city. And rather than this G20 becoming only a thing which is deliberated among officials and deliberated among bureaucrats, it become a process in which people are also feeling that they are part of a larger initiative which is happening. So this is a very elaborated purpose. So it's not that one-to-one correlation between common public and the meetings which are happening, but this entire process is part of them.
यहाँ मैं ऐड करना चाहूँगा कि यहाँ पर आप लोगों का योगदान बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. जैसे कल बहुत खूबसूरत कुछ फोटोज आई जिसमें हमारे G20 डेलीगेट्स भंगड़ा टीम के साथ डांस कर रहे थे. तो जब इस तरह की फोटोज मास मीडिया के जरिए आती हैं तो मुझे लगता है जो जन भागीदारी वाली बात थी और जैसे अभी बलदेव जी ने बताया वो चीज़ अपने आप प्रमुखता से आगे आती है. तो ये तो जन भागीदारी तो आप लोग अपने आप बढ़ाएंगे अगर आप इसी तरह से G20 के बारे में जैसे आप लोगों ने 2 दिनों से हमें सपोर्ट किया ऐसे सपोर्ट करते रहेंगे. इसके सॉफ्टवेयर एस्पेक्ट्स को आप सामने लाएंगे, कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट्स को, हिस्टोरिकल एस्पेक्ट्स को, टूरिज्म एस्पेक्ट्स को. आई थिंक द पर्पज ऑफ G20 गेटिंग डाउन टू अदर सिटीज अदर देन metros, that gets solved very well.
Media friendly. The event isn't that media friendly. We aren't being allowed even to the cultural events. I know the seminars are closed door because diplomatic relations are being discussed in that. But the cultural events, at least media should be allowed there.
नहीं देखिए इसको we have to understand it in the context of international sensitivity. It's not that this is what is happening in India. In the other countries, or last year when we visited other at least I am attached to this for last many years, and in every country which we are going, media interaction is only through this kind of channels which we are having. So international, I know other countries, every country delegates have their own sensitivities which need to be honored. Everybody doesn't want to get his picture clicked or doesn't want to seen in a particular thing. So the idea is that this is not something which is only for this year or only for this presidency. It's a common practice which is happening across countries and across years, across presidencies.
But you are providing the photos and videos, sir.
नहीं वो तो हम उतना ही curated ही बताते हैं ना.
The only thing is you don't want to give the message to the public what you people are doing.
हाँ जी.
You are providing the photos.
नहीं देखिए ऐसा है कि there are so many things involved, which a very open kind of interaction may not be, catering to those kind of sensitivities.
और कुछ मैसेज ऐसा जा रहा है कि आप जो प्रोवाइड कराना चाहते हैं बस वही प्रोवाइड कराएंगे, बाकी कुछ नहीं.
तो इसमें बुरा क्या है बताइए.
जैसे अभी आपने पुरुषार्था जी कहा कि ये क्लोज डोर मीटिंग है, पर वो कोरिया वाला बताने में तो 1 मिनट लगा हमें, लेकिन बाकी क्लोज डोर मीटिंग है कि कोरिया कहता है कि इंडिया सॉफ्ट हार्ड पावर है, सॉफ्ट पावर है, जो भी है. वो क्लोज डोर मीटिंग का चैप्टर नहीं था क्या? वो भी था, लेकिन वो बताने में हमें बड़ी थी कि हम बता दें. लेकिन जब हम सवाल पूछते हैं तो क्लोज डोर मीटिंग हो जाती है. तो बस ये है, मतलब मेरा ये नहीं कहना कि आप बताएं ना बताएं, ये आपका प्रोरोगेटिव है, आपका दायरा है, लेकिन ये पिक एंड चूज वाला है ना.
आई डोंट थिंक कि आप कोरिया के किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बात कर रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन यही हम आपको समझा.
साउथ कोरिया ने कल कुछ स्टेटमेंट या परसों स्टेटमेंट दी.
हाँ जी. ओके, सो द इशू इज व्हाट वी आर कन्वेइंग दैट जो मीटिंग हो रही है G20 की, चाहे ये मीटिंग है चाहे पूरे देश में जो कई मीटिंग्स होंगी, पहले भी दूसरे देशों में हुई है, सारी मीटिंग जो है क्लोज डोर मीटिंग होती है. इसमें कौन सी कंट्री, हमारे कलीग्स ने आपको बताया एजेंडा क्या था, हमारे कलीग्स ने बताया मुद्दे क्या थे, हमारे कलीग्स ने ये भी बताया कि इसका प्रोसेस क्या होगा और कैसे चीजें फाइनलाइज होगी. हमने क्या कहा आपको, किस कंट्री ने क्या पोजीशन लिया, दिस इज अ क्लोज डोर मीटिंग. वो हम कंट्री का पोजीशन आपको नहीं बता सकते बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रोसेस ऑफ G20 कंट्रीज. तो ये तो हर चीज का एक कायदा होता है, एक तरीका होता है, और हम आप सबसे रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि उस कायदे तरीके को आप भी समझेंगे और उसमें हमारी मदद करेंगे.
Okay, I think that was a nice interaction with all of you. As in the past 2 days, you people came with very reasonable, very intelligent questions. I think officers here were also equally happy to respond to them. We didn't face any kind of untoward incident throughout the 3 days, which is great in terms of how well you people have cooperated with us. We look forward to continued cooperation like this only. Thanks once again.